The conflict between Israel and Iran is at a very scary place, considering the fact that now there have been missile strikes exchanged between the two countries. And there are world leaders now urging both parties to hold fire, to calm down and not let things escalate further. Now, let me give you a quick timeline of how things kind of played out this week. On Tuesday of this week, Syria claimed that Israel had carried out an attack on a military base that's just south of Damascus, which, by the way, is being used or was being used by Iranian forces. Now, as we know, Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel has been pushing the United States to A, end the nuclear deal with Iran, and B, engage in a military conflict to defend Israel, because Netanyahu believes that Iran poses a threat to Israel. Now,
can I just say,
sure.
Super important part of the timeline is Israel launched those particular strikes 1 hour after Donald Trump withdrew from the deal with Iran. So the deal with Iran was with many different parties, including European allies like Germany, France, and UK, and with Russia. We all agreed to stop Iranian nuclear energy program. And now, after we reneged on the deal, Israel thought, oh, great, and this is the right-wing government of Israel. This is a wonderful opportunity to start a war. So since Iran is already mad and they have no incentive left not to strike back, let's try to make sure that we hit them hard, we kill some of their people, so that they'll be forced to respond. And when they do, we'll go, oh my God, I can't believe someone would strike back after we bombed the living crap out of them. How is that possible?
Well, that's
exactly what's happening right now.
Well, that's an important clarification to bring up, because the way that this story is playing out in the mainstream media makes it seem as though Israel was attacked by Iran and it was unprovoked, when in reality that is not the case. In fact, the military in Israel is admitting, they are themselves saying, we did this essentially preemptive strike because we were worried that Iran posed an imminent threat from Syria, that they would strike Israel from Syria.
Okay, so let me clarify that. So if their idea is correct, that you could just do a preemptive strike because you're worried that somebody else might attack you at a later time, they say, oh, they might have had weapons pointed towards us. Well, Russia has weapons pointed towards the United States right now. Should we nuke them? Well, that sounds like a pretty bad idea, right? Oh, wait a minute. The US has weapons pointed at Russia right now. We have hundreds, maybe thousands of nukes pointed at Russia right now. Should Russia preemptively attack and destroy San Antonio? We have missiles pointed at them, we could wipe them out. So preemptive strikes are another word for, I would like to start a war, and I have started a war. So preemptive strike doesn't mean a goddamn thing. It used to mean something back in the day. A preemptive strike that actually existed was their planes are in the air, so we had to hit them, right? A preemptive strike is not, hey, they have weapons somewhere, so let's start a war with them.
Well, we in the United States set a pretty terrible precedent when it comes to preemptive strikes.
That's exactly right. And by the way, Israel supported that preemptive strike against Iraq that we did. And the same guys, Netanyahu and the neoconservatives here in America all believe that you should be able to attack any country you like and just call it a preemptive strike. So let's be absolutely clear. Israel started this. Now, Israel's our ally. I don't want them to start it. And I don't want them to get bombed. I don't want them to be in the middle of a conflict. I agree with the left wing of Israel. And in terms of Iran, don't get me wrong, I don't want them in Syria. I don't want their weapons there. I don't think they should be there. I don't think the Russians should be there. By the way, I also don't think we should be there. So I don't want any of that conflict. But I know that the most important thing is who starts bombing first, because those are the people looking for conflict, looking for war. And if you're wondering, how is this going to help Israel to start a war with Iran in order to quote unquote prevent a war with Iran? That makes no sense at all if you actually care about the citizens of Israel and its security or the entire region. But if you're a right-wing politician, you think war always helps you. And
certainly helps you get reelected.
That's right, especially if you're in the middle of domestic issues like Netanyahu is, and charged with
corruption,
a ton of corruption, and is in political trouble. Hey, you can't get rid of me. We're in the middle of a war. I'm your strong leader. What a nice coincidence for the right wing, as always.
Now, that's just the first part of the timeline. Let me tell you how the rest of it played out just this week, by the way. So again, on Tuesday, Israel strikes a military base just south of Damascus, targeting Iranians. According to some civil rights groups, 15 people died, including 8 Iranians. So at that point, Israel realizes, well, Iran might retaliate. These Israeli citizens that they were concerned about were those who live in Golan Heights. That is a town that borders Syria. And so they essentially told the people living there, get ready, you need to prepare your bomb shelters because there might be retaliation. So also please keep in mind that there was an April 9th airstrike by Israel which killed 7 Iranian military advisors and members of Iran's military guard. So this provocation has been happening as early as April 9th, and Iran didn't retaliate until this week. So finally, Iran does retaliate with missile strikes in Golan Heights. The rockets were intercepted by Israel, though. As far as I know, as far as I've read, they did not succeed in targeting the Israelis. Now on Thursday, Israel claimed it hit nearly all key Iranian military targets in Syria during airstrikes launched in response to a rocket attack on its troops in the occupied Golan Heights. It blamed on Iran. Okay, now again, Israel said that about 20 rockets were fired from an Iranian-operated launcher at its forces in the Golan Heights and either fell short of their targets or were intercepted. Now, also, if confirmed that Iran has fired these rockets directly at Israeli forces in a conflict that for years has been fought through proxies such as Hezbollah. So again, it's the first time that they are in direct conflict with Israel. This has, for the most part, been a proxy war up until this week.
And so very important context on a lot of that as well. So the Israelis kept bombing the Iranians last month. So why didn't Iran respond? Because they were waiting to see what the US did in terms of the peace deal. So if they didn't want to strike back and risk the US pulling out. Now it turns out it didn't matter. The US pulled out anyway. So when they did, then this is why Trump pulling out of the deal is so important and so negative, because then Iran said, well, then I have no incentive not to strike back.
That's right.
Okay, and Netanyahu knows that. He's trying desperately to start a war. So as soon as the US withdraws, he goes, great, now I'm positive Iran will hit me back. You see that? He's endangering his own citizens on purpose. 1 hour after the US withdraws from the deal, he's like, now I kept hitting them and they wouldn't hit back. Now, they did down an Israeli jet as it was bombing Iranian positions inside Syria. And then Israel was furious about that. It's the first time they've lost a plane in decades. They're used to just being able to bomb people and no one is allowed to ever counter them. By the way, I tell you that because picking a war with Iran, I know Israel and the US think we can't ever lose a war. Yeah, Iraq went great. Afghanistan has been brilliant. But they think, yeah, we got mired in it, but it's not like we lost. Okay, Iran's a different animal. I'm not saying Iran's gonna beat the US or Israel, but that's gonna be a way, way harder war. They have no idea what they're getting themselves into. Iran is 4 times larger than Iraq, has more than twice as many people as Iraq, and has an ally named Russia. So, and they will be able to buy weapons not only from Russia, but likely from China. And they just downed an Israeli jet. This is incredibly serious stuff. And of course, the right-wingers in both countries are like, oh, no problem, filled with hubris. We can't lose a war. Let's just start it and see how many people on our side as well as the other side dies. Now, luckily, Barack Obama gave Israel the Iron Dome, and that's partly what shot down the Iranian rockets. I'm sure Netanyahu is called Obama to thank him for saving Israeli lives. Oh, right, he did nothing but criticize Obama and got the Iron Dome anyway. By the way, the Golan Heights is occupied territory. Israel should not be there in the first place.
Right, it was annexed by Israel. So let's talk a little bit about the response to this conflict from Russia and from the United States. As expected, the response from Moscow has been more critical toward Israel. Moscow, which supports the Syrian president, Bashar al-Assad, said 28 Israeli warplanes took part in the raid and 70 missiles were fired. Israel said that it had notified Russia before the strikes began. So Israel, for its part, is not denying what Russia is saying. It's just responding with, well, we warned you and we did what we said we were gonna do. Now the United States, unsurprisingly, is siding with Israel and pretending as though there were no provocations coming from Israel. The White House condemned Iran for launching rocket fire from Syria at Israeli military targets and threw its support behind retaliatory strikes by Israel, asserting the Jewish state's, quote, right to act in self-defense. But again, remember, this conflict didn't begin this week with Iran. It began with Israel, launching its rockets toward a military base that had Iranian military members in it.
And they killed 8 Iranians in a previous bombing, 7 Iranians in a recent bombing. So imagine what America would do if Iran bombed American positions, killed 8 American soldiers, and then another 7, along with other people too. Do you think we'd be like, well, I mean, we just have to take their bombing and there's nothing we can do about it? No, we would strike back. And then when Iran strikes back, they're like, how dare they? They are being so belligerent. No, we're going to kill them, and we should not pretend to be surprised when they fight back. I don't want them fighting back. I don't want either side doing any of the bombings. But it's our job to tell you the reality and the facts on the ground. And the facts are, in this case, Israel definitely started it. I know that you go back for decades and decades in the Israeli-Palestinian and all the Middle Eastern wars, and everybody's like, yeah, but before that was this, and then before this was that. And it's endless. But in this case, it is absolutely clear that Israel did the bombings last month. They did the bombings this week, and then Iran retaliated.
And again, Iran retaliated because it had nothing to lose in regard to the United States and that nuclear deal. The US already pulled out of that nuclear deal. And by the way, one other thing that I wanted to mention about that, I know this is a little bit of a tangent, is that when Trump pulled out of that nuclear deal, he basically did away with any credibility that moderate Iranians have in the country, right? Because they're the ones who pushed for that nuclear deal. And so they have no credibility now. The moderates in Iran have no credibility. This is really bad news for the future when it comes to the nuclear program and conflict in the Middle East.
Look, my position is I can't stand the Iranian leadership and the government and the mullahs and the Ayatollah. I think the people of Iran should be free. I don't think they have a real democracy, and I support the Iranian people. I do not support the Iranian government, but you have to call it like it is. So I'm not going to lie for our side by pretending they started these particular hostilities. And in fact, Anna's point is a great one. If we want to encourage the moderate forces that might go towards a Western direction, or more importantly, a democratic direction in Iran, well, we've done the worst possible thing we could do in this case. The neoconservatives constantly have this attitude of, if we bomb them, they will then want to be liberated by us. That's insanity. No, if you kill them, they'll want to kill you back. And so the extremists now are turning around right now in Iran and telling everybody else, we told you, you can never trust the West. You can never trust America. They are our mortal enemies. Let's mount up and let's fight them. And that is the propaganda they're putting together in Iran now, and Donald Trump and Netanyahu made that far more persuasive and made war far more likely. It is definitely their fault. 2 easy ways to follow the Young Turks. One is hit the subscribe button down below, then you're a TYT subscriber, and second is ring the bell. And when you do that on YouTube, you're notified of our videos.